Hello, I'm Rebecca Bradley. This is the Virtual Crime Book Club. It is Monday, the 14th of October, 2024. Oh, Vera's logging in now. And today we are discussing City Under One Roof by Iris
Yamashita or
Yamashita.
Yamashita. Okay, too.
It's the I is silent, isn't it?
In Japanese it is, but I don't mind. It's easier to spell when I just say the whole thing with the vowels.
Yamashita.
Mhm.
I tried to go on YouTube and make sure I got the correct pronunciation, and
Oh,
I've still messed it up, so I apologize for that.
oh, no problem, no problem.
Um, if you are watching this video after the discussion, be aware there will be full spoilers involved. Has everybody read the book? Because we are going to discuss it to the end. Yeah, we're all happy with that today. I will read a brief bio for Iris first, which is like shockingly good. Iris is an Academy Award nominated screenwriter and an Anthony and Barry Award nominated mystery author. Iris wrote the script for Iwo Jima for Clint Eastwood. The film received a Golden Globe for the Best Foreign Language Film and was nominated for 4 Oscars, including Best Picture and Best Screenplay. Iris was born in Missouri, raised in Hawaii, and lived in Guam, California, and Japan. So she was able to experience a diversity of culture while growing up. City Under One Roof is Iris's debut mystery novel. Did I get everything right there, Iris?
That was fantastic. That is
Thank you.
absolutely correct.
I did nab it off your website, so thank you. Thank you so much for joining us and at such short notice. I only emailed Iris on Friday.
That's
Um,
correct.
so thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. I
You're
love doing
welcome.
these kind of little groups.
Yes, yes. We'll only keep you hopefully for about 20 minutes. Um, our theme this month was a locked room mystery, and City Under One Roof takes place in Whittier, Alaska.
Well, that is that's the actual the town that it was modeled after, but in the book I've fictionalized it a bit, so it is Point Mettier as you.
That's it, Point Mettier, yes. That's where I got Mettier from. So I'm confusing the two. Um, and residents live in a high-rise building. What interested you about this this real place that made you want to fictionalize it?
Well, it had everything there, it had the right atmosphere. It already was, as you said, a locked room, or I call it a locked city. But I had seen a documentary over 20 years ago because it was the time when the tunnel had not yet been open to car traffic, and the only way to get there used to be by train. And then in the year 2000 is when I think they opened it up to one-way traffic. And I had seen it when it was only by train, and the setting had just kind of stuck with me all this time. I didn't have a story, but yeah, I was thinking that I'd really like to write a mystery, and and then that setting kind of just came back in my mind, like that would be a great place to have a mystery, or a dead body.
Yes, absolutely. Did you get a chance to visit it at all?
Yes, I did.
Did you?
Yes, so I did go there for research, and I did stay in that building for a couple nights. It was a very strange town.
Was it? How did you find it? Does your reflection in the novel mirror your experience within the actual building?
Well, yeah, I did go during the summer, and it's a lot more active during the summer. You have a lot of people coming through as tourists. There is a place you embark on cruise ships. So a lot of people tell me they have actually passed through there. No one usually stays there, but a lot of times you pass through there. So it wasn't quite as scary as it would be during winter. But I could just imagine. I mean, being in the building was definitely great. It's a beautiful view during the summer, but I wouldn't want to be there in winter.
It's so strange for all of us to imagine that everybody lives in one building. It's so it is. I can understand how that drew you in to make you want to write about it. It's a fabulous location.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I hadn't known this when the book came out, but apparently it was also kind of a TikTok kind of sensation for a while that people had, I think there was someone vlogging from the building and she,
Wow.
she became very popular. I didn't know that till after till the book came out. But there were some things that were, as I imagined it, and some things that I was surprised about because I kind of read that there was a diversity of people who live there. But when I went there and saw, wow, there's a lot of people from Samoa. There was a Chinese family, there is a Korean family, just seeing the diversity was actually a surprise.
Yes, because you don't always get diversity in towns, never mind in a city,
Alaska.
in a building. So, yeah, that's interesting. I asked for questions from the group members, and from Clark, he's asked Point Mettier is a refuge from domestic violence, and that plays an important role in the plot. How important was it for you to portray Point Mettier that way?
That was one of the things when I was researching the place that I had stumbled upon, and I just wanted to bring it forth because when I started doing research, I did read again back when the only way in was by train, was that there were some people who lived there who were running away from their ex-husbands. And it was interesting because they said that they had the conductor of the train not let their exes go through to the city because, right, they were running away from their abusive exes. And so that was very interesting to me, and I wanted to kind of highlight that. And then also just as I continue to do research, finding out that Alaska is the most dangerous state in the US for women, because over 50% have suffered, like 60 something percent have suffered some kind of domestic violence. And so that was very surprising. And I mean, I didn't know that when I started writing the story, but as I discovered these facts, I just thought, oh, I think I need to put that in there somehow.
Yeah, yeah. I imagine it's the cold, the dark nights, and the lack of things to do that causes those situations. Because it flared up in the pandemic, didn't it? Domestic
Yeah,
violence.
I think one of the things, because Alaska is a huge state, it's mostly wilderness, and it's very hard to police. So it's hard to have especially, among Native communities, like they don't have money for their own police force, and they've changed some laws so that now state police can, state police can now act on those areas that are not, they're so remote and they don't have the money to pay for their own police force. But yeah, so Whittier is also it's hard to get to. It's kind of remote. It is close to Anchorage, but because it closes, it shuts down after 10. I think the tunnel just shuts down. So it's but I imagine that that's where people run to, because as I had done that research where they can kind of monitor who comes in and out. So it's not it doesn't have the same problem as the native communities.
Yeah. We'll move on to the characters now. Cara is quite the main character with her own hefty backstory. What was your process for creating her and building her?
Yeah, it was always difficult when you have your protagonist is sort of the straight person, because you have all the quirky characters and but you want to make your protagonist interesting. And so it kind of evolved over time, like what would her connection be to the case, and um what her backstory is, and what is her secret, because I sort of just decided that everybody in this town had something to hide, and why not the protagonist also has something that they're hiding, which was she wasn't actually police. So that worked its way into the story, but it wasn't like instantly I had the whole character and her background and everything from the get-go. It is a process as you write, that you come up with ideas and they evolve, and it takes a lot of thinking and walking and mulling over. It doesn't come all at once.
Okay. Again from Clark, how did your experience of um, diverse cultures while younger influence your um, character development with the community that was there?
Yeah, I think that was very helpful, because I did live in Guam, and actually are Guamanians who live in real life, also in this building, which I thought was very interesting. My husband is Filipino, and so there's Filipino characters in here too. Being Asian and understanding, Asian culture when I was writing Amy. I think all of that helped. So I was really actually happy that I found this place in Alaska where it was a lot of diverse cultures that came together, because that to me is so interesting. And even though I'm not from Alaska, in this building, most of the people are also not from Alaska. So that was helpful for sure.
Yeah. I can see the time's knocking on now, so I'll move down a couple of questions. How different do you find screenwriting to novel writing?
There is a lot of difference actually, but I had originally started off wanting to be a novelist. So I did take classes in writing novels before I actually switched to screenwriting. And the reason I switched was because I couldn't finish a novel. It took too long, and screenwriting was much shorter. There's only usually about 100 pages with a lot of white space. So I thought, oh, I could do this. So that's when I switched over to screenwriting. But yes, it's a very visual medium. Screenwriting is a very visual medium. But the other thing is you're just one part of the puzzle when you're a screenwriter. You're just the writer, and there's people who do set designing, casting. They do, there's less work for you as a screenwriter, whereas with a novel writer, you're everything. You're the casting
Yes,
director.
it's
You're the
your book, isn't it?
Yes, and so sorry? Oh, sorry. One thing that did catch me was when I write a screenplay, because I'm not casting, I don't try to describe the character very much. It's sort of just like white female 40. So, like
Yeah.
it's very generic, because you don't know who they're going to cast. You might not even specify their ethnicity, you might just say woman.
Yes, yeah.
You don't know what they're interested in, who they're interested in casting and all of that. So when it came to writing this book, the first book, I never once described my protagonist until they were trying to come up with a cover, and then the artist wanted to know what the protagonist looked like. And I said, "Oh dear, I never did describe her, did I?" So then I went back, I had time. I went back and I did add a description for her later. But, yeah.
Yeah. So moving that on to your novels, having written for screen and it having made to the big screen, do you now, when you're writing your novels, picture actors or picture the characters as somebody they may be in life?
Actually, not as much, because again, from screenwriting, I don't want to try and picture somebody, because usually whoever I want, they're not going to get. So I don't want to be too attached to the idea. But there are certain characteristics that you think of, some of the side characters, especially when you have a specific, you give them something very specific, like with Ellie who become in my second book, she actually becomes a major character, but she's like a Southern woman, and I describe her a little more because I did have more of a picture of what she looked like and who she was, but not, I don't usually go specifically an actor.
Right, okay. Um, cheeky question from Clark. Are Cara's husband and son still alive?
Well, you'll have to get the second book to find that out, which is the sequel is Village in the Dark. So all your questions on that end will be answered.
Really? Oh, good. That's interesting. Um, where can what can readers expect next? You've written the second book. Is it a series?
It's just a two book, so it's just two parts. So there, City Under One Roof is the first part, and Village in the Dark is the second part, and that's all I have contracted for this series. So I'm not going to say I'll never go back to it, but I am writing a next book, a third book, which is not related to this book. And
Okay,
it takes place in Portugal, and that because living in Portugal now.
lovely. And is that crime as well?
Yes, it's also a mystery novel.
Brilliant. And where can readers find you online?
So it's my name, which is hard but to spell, but it's on the book, irisyamashita.com.
Lovely, thank you. Um, does anybody have any burning questions then before we let Iris continue her evening? No? Okay. Thank you so much for joining us, Iris.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And yes, have me on anytime. I'm always willing.
Thank you. Really appreciate that. It's been brilliant. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, have fun. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you, Iris.
Well, Iris was lovely. No burning questions from anybody. Clark sent me a few. Did you want to say something, Vera? You're on mute.
No, I was just surprised that she's living in Portugal, but I think she was in Lisbon from what I could see in her background. And I was like, this
You did
looks
appear to ask
familiar.
for Rebecca if living in Portugal was a crime. I thought our Portuguese friends might be up in arms about that.
Is that exactly what I said?
You said, yeah, it said, is it a crime when she announced she was living in Portugal?
Right. She knew what I meant, luckily. So, we've talked to Iris about the book. Let's discuss the book. did you so everybody's read it?
I haven't. Sorry, I can't show myself. It's Muriel here.
Hi,
But
Muriel.
I haven't finished. I really love it, but I haven't had time to read it.
Right, okay. Do you want to log out before we start discussing the ending?
I don't mind. It's the kind of book I don't mind even if I know the end, because I really enjoy reading it. So that's fine.
Great. So, did you enjoy the book?
Yes.
So we've got quite a few yeses, a sitting on the fence, kind of. Did anybody not enjoy the book? Well, that's good. So what did you enjoy about City Under One Roof?
The characterizations, and it was mentioned by the author there in a lot of it, but there were so many fascinating characters for me. Lonnie, particularly, the young girl. Amy, the singer, was it Mariko, yeah, and the building itself, which turns into a character. And I thought it was such an easy read. I've already downloaded the sequel, actually, and looking forward to it.
And I like the style of writing. I like that style.
Yes.
I also enjoyed it. It was very easy to read. It was very atmospheric. I liked the atmosphere, because it was quite special to imagine this building in the middle of all this ice, and so I liked it because it's so different from what we are used to in terms of setting. So I've enjoyed the setting. I've also enjoyed the characters. Yeah, it was a nice read. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. So the setting, it's unbelievable that this place exists in real life, that you have a whole population in one building. So did this fit our locked room mystery well?
Yeah, for me it did. I love the setting. It's sort of locked in the ice, stuck sort of in a sort of an Antarctic substation or something like that. That's what it felt to me like. I really did like the setting, and I did probably, I don't know if anyone else had researched it. I'd look up, and I thought it's quite nice actually in the summer. It looks lovely. I mean, I wouldn't want to stay in that building, but apart from that, it looks lovely. The setting was fabulous, for me.
I don't know. I'm quite interested that it exists, and interested in putting it on my bucket list to go and stay in this place, just because it's so unique. Yeah, the building is just fascinating, and it doesn't surprise me that a writer has been drawn to this after hearing about it. There was a diversity of characters. It was brilliant. Who did any of you have any favourites? Clark.
I thought that Amy's mum was a lot of fun. The North Korean, who sacrificed her, who put herself at big risk, and her husband died, of course.
Yes.
And actually, I mean, there's quite a poignant bit at the end where Amy says, I have to leave now because actually you and my father risked everything, and it would be a betrayal of your sacrifice for me to not, for me to be a prisoner in this building. So it's got, I think that's a good bit, and it's quite poignant, I think.
Yes, so her mum comes across quite strict and regimented at the beginning, and then you learn actually she's just very frightened of having to go back to North Korea. So the character does kind of open up and grow to what you first see. What about anybody else? Did anybody else have any favourites?
Yeah, I liked Mariko. I thought she was really interesting with her strange birthday parties. And I hope we learn a bit more about her and what's happened to cause all this strange behavior in the second book. I thought she was really interesting, and singing away there every night in this bar. You know, what's brought her here?
Yes. And also, why did she pay the kids to play Knock-a-Door Run on Cara? So there may be answers in the next book if it is only a duology, yeah, you know what I mean. So, and what about
Lonnie as well? Lonnie was absolutely fantastic. I mean, clearly special and would do anything she could to protect the town and protect anything that she thought was at risk. And she was brilliantly written, with everything in sort of rhyme and verse and that kind of thing going on in her head. I loved her line near the end when suddenly she was speaking away and about a round of applause, and then suddenly stopped and said, "Why does an applause have to be round? Why can't it be square?"
Yeah.
And things like that was just, I just loved her and just paid attention every single time that she had a chapter dedicated to her.
Yeah, and her moose. I mean, it's not very often you get a moose as a
pet.
You know, it's usually a horse or a dog or a cat, but no, it's a moose, which I thought was wonderful. Who himself had some of his own character. She'd even managed to bring the moose some personality, which was really interesting. There was a murder. Well, it started with body parts, and we all knew it was a locked place. So did that cause you to start guessing as you were meeting characters about who and why?
I think so. I think that actually I really enjoyed the character build up, especially as I was trying to figure out who was involved in what, and each new revelation of the different layers of the character different characters were really interesting. I think the part for me that maybe almost watered it down a little bit was understandably when we got to the village and Wolf and the other characters, because even though I would have hated for any of the characters we knew living in the Dave Code to actually have been involved nefariously. At the same time, it was a little bit like, oh, okay, now I don't like get all kind of crossed off the list, and it extended out a little bit. So it did feel like we went out of the locked room a little bit. But again, saying so that I liked that the characters that we grew to love, like Lonnie and Amy's mom and everyone, were kind of, not nefariously involved. Yeah.
Yeah. How well did Cara's background fit into that the place that was so full of life, and the characters that all had their own things going on? And as Iris said, they all had their own secrets, including Cara. Did you enjoy that she came with so much baggage? She wasn't as popular.
It's more interesting when I think it's always more interesting when the detective or the policeman or the policewoman are a bit damaged and they have their own trauma to deal with. Obviously, this then influences the way they look at the crime and how they react to certain things. So yeah, it's a way of making the character more interesting, and I think it worked. And yeah, it's true. Then we are like looking forward to understand what happened to her husband and child. And did she imagine the phone call? Are they alive? Did they fake their own death? Why? And all of that. So yeah, it's a good way to. Now I want to read the second book because I want to find out what happened to them.
And it's the last paragraph that really stamps that home. That mystery surrounding what happened.
I thought it was a bit cheeky not to reveal more in the first book, to make us
get another one.
Well, that's why she writes the next one.
I thought, I didn't like that.
Really?
No, I didn't like it. I thought we needed to get at least a little bit more information about this, because it's like you start off something and you just leave it off, and I wasn't pleased with that. And the other thing, what I thought a bit strange was her experience with the little girl. That was just this ghost in the end. And I thought, why did she do that? Because it would have been nice if this girl was real.
But do you think this is from Shining, from the movie? Do you remember the movie?
Yes.
Because I as soon as the girl was like cycling, I was like, she's a ghost. Because I remember this from Shining.
Yeah.
You know, the technical sense. You remember I think it was from Shining.
Oh, it's such a long time ago that I saw that. So
yeah,
I didn't have it.
And then when you see the water, I was like, okay, she's a ghost.
I don't really see how it adds anything to the book that Susie's a ghost.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
You know, what was the point in I mean, overall, I liked the book, but that was something that I thought was, yeah, it was a bit of an issue. I couldn't quite understand why she did that.
You could have asked her, actually.
Yeah.
It was on my list.
It was on the list, but we were running out of time. Clark's list was quite long.
Rebecca was working her way to the cheeky ones at the end.
Yes. But I haven't seen The Shining. I don't watch scary films, but I can remember the poster for it, or a clip where the girl is on the bicycle. So yeah, I do know what you're talking about.
Maybe it's also to tell us something about the state of mind, Cara's state of mind.
Yeah.
And to say, okay, she just imagined this. She saw the poster and she made up this because this is her state of mind, or just to bring more flavor to the building, because everybody said the building was like haunted and
yeah. We may get answers. She may appear in the next one. We may get more answers like we do about the husband in the next one. So I don't know. I can't remember what I was going to say. So what else did everybody think about the city and the characters? Did we have?
Sorry, Rebecca.
No, go on.
I was going to say, I thought it was quite interesting to bring in the fact that because they're such an isolated community, that it's like normal justice and policing wasn't working for them, and they just had their own, instituted their own sense of their own, what's the word I'm looking for? Their own justice for the husband who was abusive. So rather than sort of have him evicted or something, they decided to kill him. It was a bit sort of what's the William Golding book? The one with the kids.
Lord of the Flies.
Yeah, they'll just do their own thing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Clark.
Another of Clark's questions that I never got to ask was about.
I had a spare half hour before this. I don't want you to think that.
You did leave it to the last minute as well.
I had some spare time, honestly. I had nothing else to do.
The police and what Lorna's saying about justice. How did you feel that there wasn't a single law enforcement person there that actually followed the rule of the law? Did it make it more interesting or detract from it?
I liked it because I like the dynamics between Cara and the chief. That was fraught at the beginning, and there was a lot of mistrust there. and JB was sort of the go-between, obviously, and the love interest going on as such, you know. So I really like that dynamic that, you know, they had the investigator from out of town coming in and as the strict law enforcement person trying to introduce the rule of law, and this is what should be done and that's what should be done, pulling people into the station where, you know, Lorna's right, they don't really work to those rules, and so that I really love that dynamic.
Anybody
They
else
committed quite a serious. Sorry, Rebecca. They committed
just
quite a
saying,
serious
anybody
crime.
else have any thoughts? And go on, Clark. Go on. Sorry, I'm putting you off.
I think they committed quite a serious crime. You know, they effectively framed someone for murder. All right, the someone who was framed was not a very nice person,
and also dead.
Yeah, and dead. Yeah. You know, did we care?
Did we?
I did write it down. Wasn't it the chief? Was he part of the conspiracy to cut up the body, or was that a dream? Or, you know, that, so I did write that point down, thinking, really, that's
he wielded the chainsaw, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, he was definitely involved.
Yeah. But I think the point is a very close knitted community, right? And everybody is running away from something. Everybody has a secret, like Iris said, except for JB. JB, I did not understand exactly what was his secret, but all the others, they had a secret. They were running from something. And at the end, they tried to protect one another. And at the end, they didn't want to send to prison a kid.
Yeah.
Because he tried to defend his mom, although with a gun.
But even JB's partner cheated with his fiance, so he had that backstory as well.
Oh yeah.
I must admit, I thought JB was going to be the brains behind the drug running. You know, I thought he's too good to be true.
So I've got two questions in my head then. Going back slightly, I suppose the lack of law is part of being in such a closed down community where you don't have a lot of contact with the outside world. Do you think that was realistic? Believable? Did you believe that the way it panned out?
Maybe yes, because they are also less accountable, right? And they don't have anybody checking on them. And because even in the police force, you have lots of cases of corruption and things like that. And you have people like checking on you and checking everything. If you are there in a isolated community and the chief has been there for many, many years, he knows everyone. And at the end, he doesn't feel accountable to anything. He has his own moral code and probably follows his own moral code, and that's it. So I think they are probably different rules. I agree. I think it was Lorna that said it's like Lord of the Flies, that you have your own little society and you have a moral code, and it's not exactly what it will be in a different type of society. So yeah, I could believe it.
I mean, we had actually quite a small set of characters, considering there was supposed to be 200 or 300 people in this building. You know, so you got a very condensed sort of view of the community.
Yeah. When editors talk to and publishers talk to authors, they don't like a sprawling cast, because not all readers can keep up with the names. And I know personally, I often find myself writing character names that all begin with the same letter, or they sound the same. Margot does it. It's really hard when you have a cast to come up with all these unique names. And yeah, some readers don't like the sprawling cast. Did you feel, Lorna, that it was a well-represented cast for the feeling of the place?
It was for the plot of the book. I mean, I don't know what that a community like that would actually be like, you know. So I can only go by what we're told in the book.
Yeah. So who were your original guesses on who killed this dismembered man before we found out what happened?
I didn't think it was Wolf and his gang. They came in so late in the book that it seemed almost like an added bolt-on to me. I thought it was certainly within the village. So that you know, it just didn't feel. I wasn't as comfortable with that. I thought it was going to be absolutely within the village.
I think once the mother confessed, I thought it was the older son.
Yeah.
I was a bit worried it was going to be JB. I think somebody else mentioned this, but I thought he was too good to be true, and I was a bit concerned he was going to be somehow involved in the drug running and be tied up with this.
Now somebody else thought he was involved with the drugs.
Yeah.
I also suspected GB for a while because I also thought it's too good. But yeah, it's true. When the mom confessed, I also thought it was the older son, Stefan. I think Stefan.
Near the beginning, I kind of suspected the chief, just because when he was kind of telling everyone what to do, not to say, and then I was a bit like, okay, wait, what are we hiding here? I was a little confused there, so I did suspect him.
Yes, I did suspect the chief because he was very fanatical about telling Lonnie not to talk, even though she found a head.
Correct.
Yes. Did anybody suspect that she had done this because the head was in her area?
No.
Or did we all automatically think, no, that's not her? Too obvious, or she's just too nice?
It wouldn't fit to her character, I thought.
Say that again.
I thought it wouldn't fit to her character. She might be a bit simple, but I didn't think she was so violent.
No.
That wouldn't fit to her. She was so gentle with his moves, and yeah, she was just a simple character, but not bad.
But she was about to cave in the head of the detective at one point, wasn't she?
Yes, yes, but
So
I
that's
mean,
when...
all right.
But in such a situation, it's different. We would do that probably as well.
Yeah, I forgot about that. One question, I listened to the audiobook and I don't know whether I accidentally pressed it forward to a further forward chapter, or whether it felt like I'd missed something. It was where they went to arrest Spencer's mum, and there was nobody in the house. It went from Amy finding the empty house to the police knocking on the door, and then something happened, and it just, I can't remember the jump point. But the police had knocked at the door, and then it seemed to jump to.
I thought there was a couple of jumps when they were in the other village where Wolf and his gang were, and they were sort of chasing around there. Next minute they were back in Point Mettier, and I was like, how did that happen? You know, that to me was one of the particular jumps. I thought there was a few of them, well, a couple of those at least.
But she usually goes back and tries to explain, because with that one that Rebecca is mentioning, I think the police knocks on the door, Amy's there, and then nobody's there, and then Amy comes back to the room, to the house, and she looks at Spencer's room, and he has a notebook open and has like a message to her. That's why she knows where to look for him.
I might have skipped a chapter then,
because it goes from she was there, she doesn't know where they are, and then she goes back and gets some food and some things, and we don't know why is she getting the food and things. And then it's explained, okay, she went back and she looked at his room was tidy, but then there was this open notebook with a passage underlined, and it mentioned the city and the one, the other building, and then she knew, okay, I'll go to the other building because it will be there. This is a message. So that's why she went and she found them.
I remember the massive jump. The house was empty, or the flat, or whatever they are in the building, and then the mum was in custody. So I must have skipped over.
You missed a lot.
Yeah. Sorry?
You must have jumped quite a few then, because
yes,
there is a sequence.
There was a chase at sea. Did you?
Yeah.
She went to the boat. She was caught at sea, wasn't she?
She was at sea. Yeah.
I must have, because obviously it's my phone, and I must have just accidentally hit something and it's skipped forward. So thank you.
Mind you, when you say that, there was a bit right at the beginning that I kept having to go back and read. When she arrived and she ended up having to stay the night, there was all these sounds and such like, and she got quite scared and such like, and JB came to check on her and such like. And then the next bit, they're going to the pub to see Marika and have something to eat. And I thought, hang on, this must be breakfast time.
Yes.
It was like that whole day disappeared.
Yes, he said, let's meet, you have to eat breakfast, and she said yes, and then I kept going back and forth because I was like, wait, are they going to pub for breakfast?
I missed that one, but the one I missed was so big that I obviously...
No, but I mean,
it was like 2 a.m.
This wasn't jumping. This is how the book is.
The book is, yeah.
Because it was like 2 a.m. She woke up at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they
And
go to
suddenly
breakfast.
it's breakfast, yeah.
Maybe it was just
I
like...
can remember that one.
There's obviously been a bit of editing going on that missed out that day.
Yes. I know with the screen, you can tell by when it's put to the screen, you can see that actually a few hours have passed, it's daylight and people are eating their breakfast now. But in a book, you need to kind of just put a sentence in, don't you, just to say that there's been this movement of time. Yeah. Well, that's sort of my clumsy thumbs out. So were you happy with the ending? Did anybody suspect that the whole cast of characters were involved in this?
No.
Sorry, Muriel.
That's all right. I had an inkling it probably would have ended up like that, yeah.
So if you didn't, so it was unexpected, the ending. Were you satisfied with it, with how it wrapped up?
I was happy that they framed the dead guy. It wasn't
at least
too bothered by that.
It was over a bag of money in the end, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, basically a bag of money.
Yeah.
I mean, I might have missed it, so please help me, guys, if I had missed it. But who was the person passing all the information?
We don't know. It might have been JB's friend at the National Guard. We don't know. It's second book.
But that was the picture of the phone, which then, like Laura or someone picked up. It was a cheap shot to bring on the second book.
Next book.
So I keep losing track tonight. It ended. The story that was written in City Under One Roof was resolved, but the main character has now an ongoing journey. Will you pick up the next book to read?
I will.
Yes, yes.
I like the style.
And now that I know it's only 2 parts, yes, because then we get closure.
Yes, it's not going to be dragged out. There are some series where things are dragged quite.
Yeah, just for the closure, I might. But I agree with I can't remember who said that. I didn't like that kind of loose end at the end, that we didn't know, who called her that night, pretending to be her husband, or what exactly that photo was doing. And I'm more used to that in screenplay, like when I'm streaming a show and then it ends at a cliffhanger. I know, whereas wasn't quite expecting that in a book. But just for the resolution, I might read the next one just to wrap up, since I know it's just one more. But wouldn't have liked a second surprise in the next book. That would have been not as welcome.
Yes.
The problem is, you know, that either the husband has to be dead or JB's going to die to resolve the romantic bit.
Oh, yes. Oh, she's got a dilemma to make if her husband's alive. The question I was going to ask that I've remembered now. Everybody's expressed that it seems okay that the whole community has bent over backwards to keep this murder by the child finished and done. But what did you think of Cara, who came in as an outsider, finding out the information that, was it Troy?
Troy, yeah.
Troy had committed murder and the other cast had helped cover it up for him. Was that in keeping with the way her character had been built up? Were you surprised that she'd done it?
Probably it fits with her character because, okay, she lost a child also, so she can, I don't know, she can understand the pain of losing a child, and probably she's also traumatized, and she understands trauma. I think it fits with her character.
Yeah, she came across pretty empathetic from the start.
Yes.
The thing is that this is all very nicely resolved from an adult point of view, but surely Troy would be fairly traumatized with everything that's happened in his life, and is probably needing a lot of help to get through it. But of course, none of it's going to be recognized.
The shopkeeper, he was a psychiatrist, so probably can do some therapy.
Yes.
Which will help.
Oh, well.
Yes. I mean, it was his own dad that he killed, so yeah, he's definitely going to need some therapy.
Yeah, but they all live in the Dave Cove, so there's enough trauma there for anyone.
I do want to visit.
But I think it's also more believable because Cara was, okay, she's a policewoman, but she was on leave and she was there as a private investigator. She was not there as a policewoman. I think that also makes a bit of a difference.
Yeah, she was bending
probably in her own
anyway.
mind to justify her own actions.
Yeah, she was bending rules anyway. She was shown to be bending rules.
She was already
capable of bending rules.
She was actually lying because when she arrived there, she showed her badge and she was there under false pretenses. So I think it fits with her character that she will be willing to.
Yes.
Yeah, she was breaking the law from page 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does anybody have anything else they want to say about the book that I've not asked? Go on, Clark. You really got into this book.
What did we think of the multiple perspective structure? I mean, did that add anything? I found it a bit frustrating at times because I would get to the end of one character and there'd be a bit of a cliffhanger, and then the next chapter would be from a different character's point of view, but 10 minutes earlier. So I'd have to sort of work my way through it to find out what happened. I mean, could this have been written just from Cara's perspective?
Probably, but then a character like Looney will not exist.
We miss all
I'm not saying write them out. I'm saying
but if you weren't getting Looney's own perspective, you would never actually get the character, I don't think.
There was a lot of internal dialogue for Lonnie.
And also for Amy, and to understand her relationship with her mom, which was probably a typical Asian mom. I think in terms of the characters, I think we gain something by having these from different perspectives, because there are lots of internal thinking. And so I think in terms of characters, yes, definitely we gain something. In terms of story, the flow of the story, yeah, maybe you are right, maybe. But for me, I like it like this because I like the character development.
It reminded me a lot of the previous book that we read because it was the same with the chapter titles being the women's names and then their perspectives. So I thought that was a interesting coincidence.
The Last Flight?
I'm all out of
Oh, yeah,
questions now.
yeah.
I'm all out of questions now.
Okay. Good
I'm
question.
going to mute myself.
No, don't do that. The way that you mentioned that there's a cliffhanger for one character and then they move to another, that is a writer's plot device to keep you reading. I think, yeah, that is definitely used. But it was implemented very well in City Under One Roof. Does anybody else want to go to see this city now? Is it just me?
I don't like ice. I don't like snow.
I would love to go to
Really?
Alaska. It's one
Just
of
tell us how it is, Rebecca.
Ellen fancies going. She's nodding.
Yeah, I'll go.
Yeah. That's 3 of us. Okay. So I will stop the record. Anybody else have anything else? Cork's finished. I will stop the recording and then let you know what date is next month. Stop recording.